Welcome everyone. I'm CW at the BTH&T Library, and today is September 10th, 2024, and we are at the height of hurricane season here. In Florida, we just have two seasons, Christmas season and hurricane season. Apparently, Christmas season now starts with Halloween, and that starts the first week of August. But today, we're going to look back at the crap we go through every fall and spring. That's right, we're going to examine who in fact is directly responsible for this idea of daylight savings. Trust me when I say the answer will surprise you. I don't know about you, but myself and my wife, we grew up remembering that we set our clocks back to suit the farmers. However, thinking about that, most farmers we knew didn't need clocks, they had roosters to wake them up and at the first sight of daylight. So pretty much farmers didn't care about the time of day, especially if they had cows that needed to be milked. So where the hell did this come from? There's no short answer, so I'll start in the middle. A scientist by the name of George Hudson in New Zealand in 1895 introduced the idea of moving the clocks back by 2 hours for, wait for it, he needed more sunlight to collect bugs. That's right. He was an entomologist. I guess that was easier than using a flashlight. Why worry about the price of batteries when you can piss off everyone else in your country? Well, next up with this idea, William Willett, a man greatly involved in construction in Chislehurst in the United Kingdom. He outlined his plan to manipulate time in a pamphlet called The Waste of Daylight. So his plan in 1907 was to push all the clocks forward by 20 minutes at 2 a.m. on 4 consecutive Sundays in April. Jeez, I don't know why this didn't take off. Then in fall, in September, do the exact opposite with the timepieces at 2 a.m. on 4 straight Sundays. Who's going to do all that? There was thankfully a different plan later when it could be just simply move the clocks 1 hour forward in spring, reversing the clocks back in the fall. So that didn't work until 1916. But it wasn't the British that employed this idea first. No, nine. It was the Germans, yeah. On April 6, 1916, in the midst of a war, the Great War, in hopes of saving energy, gasoline, oil, everything else, the Federal Council of Germany instituted DST, or Daylight Savings Time. The United Kingdom followed suit, and the United States did likewise, but not until March 19th, 1918. According to the United States Department of Transportation, yeah, that's the part of our government that is in charge of our time, literally, cites that a state chooses to observe DST, those states must begin and end on federally mandated dates. Also, under the Uniform Time Act, I didn't even know we had such a thing like that either, that the states have right to exempt themselves from daylight savings time. However, no state has the authority to be selected on permanent daylight savings time. Now in the United States, there's a number of states that are working to end this ritual, get rid of it completely. Namely Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vermont, and Oregon. They're all busy legislatively trying to end this time manipulation. Even Texas, their representative voted 138 to 5 to end daylight savings time back in 2023. Okay, so I've pointed out the ideas from the late 19th century and the early 20th century, but the idea of saving daylight was mentioned much further back. In Europe, an American employed by the US government took to the pen and wrote a letter to the Journal de Paris, I guess that's the Paris Journal, whatever, suggesting that Parisians rose alarmingly so very late in the day. And because of staying up late throughout the night, he pointed out that the French wasted most of their morning hours on sleep, and they could make better use of their time and daylight hours by rising up from their beds sooner. This ambassador wrote that the French, namely the citizens of Paris, could save a bundle of money in candles if the people of the city would just adjust their hours and get up with the sun. The writer of the letter suggested the use of church bells to be rang promptly as soon as the sun peaked, right over the crest. Or if that didn't work, let's bring out some cannons, the military units. Fire those blank cannons right down the street to wake up and jar those Parisians out of their beds and out of their slumber. This will allow them to enjoy more of the day and more of the daylight. Wink, wink. The writer and ambassador was Dr. Benjamin Franklin in 1784, several years after the end of the Revolutionary War. And most importantly, when Dr. Franklin wrote this letter, he wrote it as a joke. Mind you, a little bit of satire. He wasn't any more serious about rising up any earlier than the French women he was partying with in their salons. Tick tock. By the way, that's not a beauty shop. That's just a place to have a conversation. So be cautious of your words. Sometimes something happens, and so when 200 or 300 years goes by, you're getting blamed for writing something you thought was a joke, and you have an institute trying to push the responsibility to a bug guy in New Zealand later on. Well, if you enjoy this little bit of content, and I hope you did, and I would want, and you'd like to see more, please subscribe. If you're already seen some of these, please subscribe again. Like, and by all means, write in any comments you feel. I love comments. That's history, though, and it's all in the past. See you tomorrow when we talk about today. Especially you, AJ and Will.